The four questions that I think are the foundation of our faith, there's a sequence there. So God, human, problem, and then solution. And it's not just a sequence hypothetically, there's a sequence that flows down. So our view of God will flow right the way down to our view of the solution. So, for example, if our view of God is that he is primarily concerned with law and law-keeping, he's the lawgiver, then ultimately the solution will be some sort of empowered law-keeping. It'll be some sort of equipping or empowering, God giving us some ability to do the right thing. Now, there's aspects of truth to a law emphasis. The scriptures certainly say a lot about God as in terms of law and so on, but there's a relational richness to scripture and to God's plan that we have to see. So, for example, what's the solution? Biblically, it's the new covenant. The solution to our sin problem is the new covenant. The sin problem is not merely guilt, because if it was, then simply forgiveness would be enough. It would be amazing if that was all it was, but the new covenant offers more than just forgiveness. It also offers us a new heart, a heart that beats for God, that loves him, that the law written on our hearts. So from the core of our being, we now want to obey him. And it talks about the Spirit being given to us to be brought back into an intimate relationship with God. And so once you start thinking in those terms, hang on, how do we get there? Well, actually it works all the way down through the questions. A God who's relational, makes humans made in his image. Our sin is a relational, a heart problem, not simply a performance problem. And therefore the solution is not simply a status change or a legal transaction. There's certainly legal truth to the gospel. There's a reality there that is legal in terms of guilt and sins forgiven. But there's also the giving of the Spirit and being brought into union with Christ, which is inherently relational and transformative. And so the solution becomes much richer, I think, much more complete, and also much more close. That's the wrong way of phrasing it, but it's very close. The gospel isn't about having a ticket to a nice heaven. Actually, the gospel is to be brought into a marital relationship with the Son of God himself, brought right into the very core of the embrace and the relationship of the Trinity. And so all of that's going to flow from view of God, view of humanity, view of sin, and then the solution that God's offered. And I tend to think of it in these terms, that the problem, the sin, is way worse than we think it is, but the solution is far better than we probably ever dare to imagine. But the Scripture gives it to us. And so we read the Scriptures, and we find that God's grace is absolutely sufficient.